So Caroline, I only met you sort of a few months ago, just before you had your surgery, but can you tell me anything, sort of how it all led up to and how you were suffering beforehand?
It all started about October 2016. It was actually after we came back from holiday. I went through a few weeks of not feeling quite right within my body and more going to the toilet. And I spent backwards and forwards to the doctors. I even tried things like orange juice in case, because I thought it was just constipated because of the flight, because of all the air pressure. Went to the doctor was like, oh, maybe a bit of IBS, we'll give you some peppermint tablets, and carried on. And didn't really change much of my diet to start with, but it didn't get any better. It progressively got worse and the toilet trips got worse. And then I think it was about maybe the March time, I finally went back to the GP again and said, look, it's not getting right, is there anything else we can do? She says, oh, well, we could do a fecal sample. Yeah. And I was like, oh, well, why haven't we done this previously? And she's like, oh, well, this test's only become more available now. It wasn't available back then. I finally got my results for my calprotectin and they came back raised. And at that point, I went to see a consultant. I explained this to him. He took all other relevant information and had a check on my stomach and said, right, we'll send you for a colonoscopy.
That give you a more definite diagnosis?
After I had it done and I'm laid in the recovery, there was nothing on the pictures that showed at that point whether it was Crohn's or colitis. I was a bit disappointed at that point because I thought I might have walked away that day with some inkling, whatever was to come. I finally got a letter to go and see the consultant at Harrogate. He told me it was ulcerative colitis, left-sided ulcerative colitis.
And what about family life? Because you've got 2 children, and obviously, how was it affecting you when you went out for days?
I wouldn't eat on going out because I was worried that I'm about going to the toilet or finding a toilet. Days out were sometimes cut short, or if I'd have a day out, I'd go home, and the next day I'd spend pretty much all day in bed because all my energy would just be completely
gone.
Yeah.
So from going back to your consultant and having tried all the different treatments and medications and they weren't working, you obviously came to that decision to have your surgery. With UC, there's obviously a couple of surgeries that you can have done. You can choose to have your large bowel removed and keep your bottom end, which means that you can go on and have further surgery and have an internal pouch. And I know you talked about that with me and sort of you've researched it. But then the other option is that you have the whole large bowel taken away and your bottom end, and you have your bottom end sewn up. What made you make the decision to go for the whole big surgery? Because it was big major surgery that you were going to have done.
I'd done research before I went to the surgeon, and he said, I want you to go away and I want you to think about what surgery you want. And obviously he gave me my options. And I kind of knew at that point, I knew I wanted it all to go away. The only question I had was if I could keep the right bottom end to maybe potentially have a reversal years down the line or a J pouch down the line. But I knew I wanted the bowel to go, I wanted the rectum to go, I wanted the UC to go. So he said, look, I'll give you a couple of weeks, go away, think about it, do your research. So I went home, did more research. I ended up ringing his secretary maybe 2 weeks down the line and I said, look, I don't need all this time to make my decision. I know what I want to see him as soon as possible. And I think my only question I had for him that day when I went back was by keeping the last bit to, if I wanted a J pouch, it gave me what complications, so I could still have a certain amount of colitis in that area. I could still, even though the bowel's not there, that part could still keep working and get an infection, or mucus could still come out and I could still have accidents. I even asked him, I said, what would you suggest? He said, look, if you're gonna have this done and you do not want a J pouch, have everything removed and live your life with an ileostomy and start living your life.
How did you find the support in hospital, you know, with the nurses and things and helping you with your bag?
Even in hospital, asking certain questions and watching. And yeah, it was really informative and you were really good. And my mum came in on one of the bag changes because I said to you, can my mum come in? Because when I go home, if I've got any issues or something doesn't look right, I want a second opinion that's not, because you're not there to do it. So my mum came in and she looked and she saw, because I had them couple of stitches that came away from the underneath. So my mum came in and she had a right good look and knew what she was looking for if there was any issues. And then I think it was on the Thursday when Ben came to do it, Anthony came in, so then my husband, so he came and he looked and he knew what he was looking at, and he watched us remove it, even Ben said to her, so do you think you could do that then for her? And it was like, yeah, not a problem. So that was, really good that it wasn't kept just like a secret between me and my stoma nurse. It was everybody who was there was involved, which was nice because it meant that I had support at home.
If somebody came to you, like somebody that was thinking about having the same sort of surgery, how would you divert them in which way to make a decision?
It depends how nervous they were, what they were more worried about having this surgery. Were they worried about the ileostomy and the bag changes? Were they worried about the recovery? It's like, people say to me, oh, how long were you in hospital for? And it's like, oh, well, 10 days. And I'm like, what, 11 weeks down the line? And people go, oh, really? Wow, you're doing really well. And it's like, well, yeah, because I chose this surgery at the best possible time. I could have waited, but I could have been more unwell than what I am. Then I went into it. So I would always say to somebody, if you've been diagnosed, I can only probably speak from more ulcerative colitis side, is from the minute you get diagnosed, be aware that surgery could be an option, and do your research. Look at it, look at whether the success rates of a J pouch, whether you feel like you could deal with a J pouch or whether you feel like you could deal with an ileostomy. I watched videos, umpteens of videos on YouTube of people doing bag changes just to see what it was like. I think, well, actually, it's not as scary as what you think it is. It's relatively quite easy and quite clean, really.
And how did you feel from having the benefit of talking to one of us Stoma Care nurses beforehand? Because I know you came in to see, I think it was Fiona, wasn't it, beforehand, and went through all the surgery and the options.
It reinforced what the research had already done, and then I was actually hearing it from a medical profession that what my options were and the success rates of X, Y and Z, and also what could potentially happen on the negative side I was made very aware of. But even then, the positive of having an ileostomy and not having the ulcerative colitis outweighed it. I know it was the best decision that I could have ever made. And having this as a permanent ileostomy, it means that that's it. I don't have to worry about much anymore.
Following your surgery, obviously you came back with the Confidence B bag, which was a clear bag. And then we went on to the stone colour, and I showed you what the other colours were. But I know you wanted to have a look at all the different bags that were out there, so we gave you the other options. And you tried the Confidence B for a little while. Yeah. You went on to some other different bags, and then we've come back to the Confidence B. Why? What made you come back to the Confidence B?
Everything about it was easier. The drainable part of the Confidence B bag it's actually very well designed. You've got this lovely little blue tab, you pull it open and it drains. Your hands actually don't have to get anywhere near the waist. And aesthetically, because of the colours they come in, I wear a lot of dark clothes. So I go for the black one, and I wear a lot of black trousers or black tops, and it's not as noticeable. And the bag itself, even on the drainable, it's not really bulky either. It's quite flat to your stomach. One of the things that I found really useful is the home delivery service. Once I'd come out of hospital, because I wasn't able to drive, I got in contact with Medilink, who have been really helpful of putting my prescriptions in and everything. Because originally, when I'd go in and all to the surgery, I wanted my pharmacist to provide with everything. But obviously, you don't take that consideration when you come out of hospital. You can't drive to get anywhere. So I went with Medilink. And
did you find that service, well, I know you're still using it, so obviously you are finding it helpful.
Yeah.
But has it been a good service to use up to now?
The people that I've spoke to when I've rang have been really good, really informative, really helpful. I could ask anything regarding any Stoma Care or products, and they knew exactly what I was talking about. They were great. I didn't feel like I was talking to a machine. Yeah. They knew what they were dealing with, and especially when I'm going back to work, which I'm really looking forward to getting my life back and maybe having a bit more fun than I've had, and not having to worry about the toilet situation. That's gonna have gone, and I can't wait to start living life differently, but for the better, and getting on.
We've only been like 10 weeks. and how far you've come from before surgery and where you're at now, you've done really, really well. And I think you'll get there.
This is actually giving me my life back. Yeah, learning to live with it and start living again. Not that my life did stop.
It's a quality.
Yeah.
Good.